I was really hesitating to do this kind of video because I'm really convinced using Bitwig as my main DAW for the future and for the stuff I'm doing as of now. But there are still some things that just really bother me and that just annoy me. I want to make people aware of that, and I'm really confused why there are some topics that I just don't find in YouTube videos, or at least they're not covered in YouTube videos. And on the one hand, I'm really happy to like send it to Bitwig as feature requests, but on the other hand, I did similar things already with Ableton and I never got really like positive feedback or any reply at all. Although they have a feature request procedure where you can just really upload things and make some suggestions, but on the other hand, Bitwig doesn't have this. Maybe I just should reach out to them via mail, but on the other hand, I want to share with you my experience, what I just have learned in the last couple of weeks. So that's what this video is about. Let me show you like the most annoying things that I learned in Bitwig, and I want them to be solved. Number one is the most obvious one for me. It's the time stretching. So don't get me wrong, the time stretching algorithms and everything works like a charm in Bitwig. Also the algorithms, what they have in there, they are just like way more specific about what it's doing and what it's not doing. Like I really got some crazy results, but let me just show you what I'm talking about. Let's maybe not drum loop, but let's say track. Okay, so something Ecology's Basement People track I'm working on currently. So let me copy paste it just into, let me just drop the track here on an audio track. Just imagine, I'm not aware of what the tempo is about, but I set the tempo to 110 BPM, and obviously it's a drum and bass track, so it's faster. I go here and let's say it detects something. So let's go here. Or what I learned recently is just so I move where the beat starts to the 1. And let's kick in the metronome. Okay, so my metronome doesn't feel good, so I say, okay, this is 1. So now here, this is what really annoys me. In Ableton, I say this is my first click, and then I just stretch it from the next click where I know where this is about to be placed, and then it extrapolates the tempo information. Can somebody tell me how this works in Bitwig? Because it just sucks. So check this out. So let's maybe fasten up because I know it's around 170, right? Okay, and now if I do like, let's say here, because I see here the snare, right? So let's say the snare we put on 2, and this tempo marker I remove. Okay, so in Ableton now there would be a button like to fasten up, because now it's like double the tempo, right? So I have to just do this here. So this is the snare. Let's remove this. So in the snare we put here another tempo marker and say here I remove that one. Come on, why can't I remove? What am I doing? Okay. Okay, so now this tempo information is correct. But the point here is, because I'm having this left marker and the marker to the right, this one here, and I basically Bitwig tells me I have to move this around, and in Ableton I can just extrapolate the tempo information I got between like what I had just between kick and snare, and then it extrapolates, and then from there I adjust again and just go on and go on and go on, and maybe also yes I have some tempo markers in between. But in Bitwig, what Bitwig tells me is the following: I have to. So and now I'm basically having the whole track and have to guess the tempo. And this sucks. I just can't believe that it sucks like that. So if somebody can tell me like it works in a better way, let me know. But I watched some YouTube videos and I just don't get it. Let's now do the same thing in Ableton Live. I just paste the track here. Again, tempo information, anything, let's say also 170, yeah, 170. Okay, so then the track is in here. There's stuff ongoing. Let's check if this is correct even. even is correct. So, okay, beside the fact that it is correct, right? But let's imagine, okay, I delete all the tempo information and I say like here, this is 1, set 1, 1 here, bam, 1 click, and not just moving it around, okay? So let's just imagine it's some random stuff like it was supposed to be, or it was in Bitwig. Okay, this is a little bit crazy, but so I know here, this is my snare, I just move it here and you see how it extrapolates the information. Almost perfect, but let's say, for example, here, so I say this kick is like 5 and I just add a warp mark here. And then usually I say like, okay, let's go somewhere else here. Let's maybe add another warp marker, so just to be perfect. And you get it. So I'm extrapolating the information, like the tempo information, and get to the proper result. I don't know, is it Ableton has a patent on this technique, but I would love to see this in Bitwig and not just hassling around. Number 2, the overview of plugins. So let's say I just don't remember like the transient designer I wanted to use, and transient designer, okay, there's the SPL trends. Okay, this is also awesome, but this is not the one I was looking for. There was another one. So what was that? So I have to go here and there. Okay, there's another. So don't get me wrong, I like the interface of like the idea you just type in things and then you can have everything like a preset, a plugin and everything, but maybe it's just me having to memorize the buttons here. So this is plugins and I say, yeah, it was XLN. Drum shaper, yes, this was it. That's it, what I'm looking for. Okay, so but still for me, maybe it's just like I have to get used to also maybe favorites, or but let me just show you in Ableton Live doing the same thing. You might argue, why is Ableton distinguishing between instruments and audio effects but also separating plugins? So it means like instruments and audio effects is Ableton built-in stuff. I don't care, because in the end I say here I have my Mark Renton collection and I say I have my distinguishing between audio effects and instruments and inbuilt audio effects and plugins, but nevertheless I say I have my collections. It's the Mark Renton collection, and I say, okay, my go-to transient shaper is the S10 drum shaper, and I just double click here. So this is my collection, and I just find this way more like just the just better. I'm sorry, but this is just like works for me, and 80% of stuff I'm doing is just adding a chorus, adding my insert bus effect, adding another chorus, a filter, a compressor, whatever, limiter. So maybe it's just me, but I still have to get used to the stuff here to the right. And maybe I just have to always have this on favorites. But what is that? Okay, so I'm just not happy with having everything in one browser. Maybe it's that. Point number 3, mixer and arrangement overview. Let me just show you something, because I was working on a remix of a track I was doing 12 years ago. It's called Pod, Payable on That. How the project looked like 12 years ago in Logic. Yeah, so some plugins are missing, obviously, yeah. So old contact and battery, okay. Look at this beauty. Check this out, the mixer. I just press 2 and there's something soloed, okay. So check out the So you get the idea. This is like an old track of mine, and I'm just want to do another 2024 version of it. But I just opened the old project, the old Logic project, and it just looks amazing because I did a great job in arranging everything. And yes, you see like the upper part again. This is just how I arrange things. The melody stuff and melodic things going on top, and the drums and bass line going beneath, and I follow below. And I follow the same principle in whatever DAW I'm using. Long story short, I think this is just so, the overview in Logic is just so amazing. And like some folders and things can be in there nested or packaged or however you want to call this. I just find that Logic has the best arrangement overview, period. The same thing is like always like in Logic, I have this already, I think for almost 20 years. I press the 2 button and I get the amazing mixer. Yeah, so I think still Logic has the best mixer. So this mixer is just the best overview. You see all the plugins I was doing, yeah, and things also that are missing, plugins that are available. I just think the mixer, and so now I have a 4K monitor here, but I was doing this track on a 20-inch iMac from 2008. Now, if you compare this to Bitwig, let me just open like the most complex song. And here, there are not so many things ongoing, so it's just 8 tracks or 10 or whatever. Yeah, I have some groups I can like open and close and so on. And most mixing I'm doing in this view, to be fair. Just if I go into this mix direction, I think it looks better than in Ableton, to be fair, but it's just like it's not the same. It's just like the focus here is on the tracks that are played, but not really the plugins that are loaded. I mean, compare this to this, and the track here is way more complex, yeah, than what I was doing here with this Scatman John remix. One of the main reasons I was using Ableton or am using Bitwig is because of the flow, and everything is just, it feels more fluent to use these tools when you do electronic music. Point number 3, I think I have to do this via voiceover or just talk about, and this is also missing in Ableton, but Bitwig is very heavily focusing on everything you do with electronic dance music on, but Logic really has some built-in, you know, pitch correction function, stuff you know from Melodyne like 20 years ago already. Fun fact, in Munich, I drive bicycle to my office almost every day, and every day I pass by the Melodyne main office. I drive through the street, but I just couldn't see them, like, but there's the main Melodyne office. And I just always think like, okay, this, like, you have this technology built into Pro Tools, I think, and in Logic at least for almost 10 years or so, you can do pitch correction and things. So for me, Logic is still the number one to go for if you record vocals, for example. And if I record vocals, which doesn't happen so often, to be fair, but if I record vocals, I do this in Logic and I do pitch correction and stuff and export it to, back then, Ableton, now Bitwig. It's such a powerful editor you can do here with wave editing and pitch correction, everything, and formants, etc., which surprises me that I just don't see this coming into Ableton or Bitwig. Like, there is nothing comparable. It's just like weird to me. Like, I mean, whoever records the vocals into Ableton or Bitwig is just, I think you do something wrong, to be fair. Or you have another external editor like Melodyne or anything else. But if you do this in Logic, you have everything built in. So why is that? I don't know. Is there some patterns or some stuff? But it just surprises me why it's so obvious to record vocals into these DAWs rather than into Ableton Live or Bitwig. So, but maybe you don't record vocals and just don't care and give. So next point, just suppose you have the track, okay, and you did something, and maybe this is not really affecting many people, but I'm working on multiple computers. The Mac Pro is my main audio workstation because everything here is connected, but still my main computer is my laptop I have here next to me. Okay, long story short, let's just save this, what I have done here with the track. Basement people test. Let's say I close it, okay? Close. Your remote desktop connection, I'm on my laptop. Basement people here, it's synced already, so I open it and check out what is happening. So this one, can anybody explain this to me? Project folder needed. I mean, Bitwig just created the project folder, right? The project file you're opening is missing. Please select an option, create a new project folder or use the containing folder as a project folder. Obviously, this is what I'm always clicking because Bitwig just created the project folder for me, right? So I say, okay, files are missing, and this just sucks. This was like something I was also setting to Ableton, because the problem is, so let's go back here to my Mac Pro Bitwig, most recent project, Basement People Test. So you see it's here, and what I forgot is just hitting File, Collect and Save. And yes, I pinned this for myself, so I can just push this button and say Collect and Save, so it copies everything into this one folder. And by the way, Logic is doing this. Since I know Logic, this is just the normal behavior in Logic, in Apple Logic. You just copy paste stuff and it copies into the folder. And I'm just really sick of pressing the additional collect and save button, but I have to do this. So now it's collected and saved. Okay, so let's close it just to be sure. Nextcloud is syncing everything. I go here again on my laptop, Basement People. Let's see samples. Okay, now it's in here. Okay, so I open it again, and now you have it. Can somebody explain me why I have to set this project folder once? I mean, it's not a big deal, but does file, collect and save, can it just automatically save everything into one direction? Like, it just sucks. Like, I have always like syncing issues and really looking for samples. For example, I was doing in the train on my laptop, and then it's just not synced, or maybe I already got lost some samples or things I was doing just because it was in some folder I was not really considering, like pushing the collect and save button. This was like one feature request I sent to Ableton Live, and they never fixed it. It just sucks. Please do it automatically, okay? Collect and save, and I think everything is fine. We are in a time where hard disk space and SSD space, it's just fine. It's okay. Imagine you have the aim and break sample and you save it multiple times on the hard disk. The file systems from today take care of this, that it just not takes more space. So please just do automatically collect and save. I think it's quite creative having this Bitwig button. So with the Bitwig button, right, you have like the most recent projects, settings, package, you get the idea. You also get the idea of like Windows project management, like you have the file button, new project, open, blah, 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 settings, etc. So you can go to the same thing. But then on Mac, I know it's a Mac specific thing, but also in GNOME, on Linux, on Unix, you have the same thing. You have this upper left menu, and Bitwig is just not using it. It's just ridiculous, because there are three things. I have the Bitwig button. Okay, it's cool. But you have the file button, which is adding some extra things. And you have the Bitwig Studio, which is just like nonsense. In Ableton Live, they're fully integrating this, really, but in Bitwig, it's just like lost space what is happening here, just because they have their fancy Bitwig button. Why is that? Can we just not, I don't want to get rid of something, but I would love to have like menu items in here. You can have the same in Windows. I mean, there are reasons or ways how you can integrate this, right? So please, let's use the bar you have here on the Mac and on Windows and anywhere else, but just not like having two different menus and really like think where is what, because here in this Bitwig menu, I cannot do this file and save. Why? I just don't get it. It's just a small thing, but here, save as template. Why is that in here but not here? I just... Next annoying point, toggle button. Let me show you something. So let me open just a project I have here and say like, okay, this is like my project. Z, by the way, I have the overview. And say, okay, let's disable that. In Ableton, I push 0 and I can disable it. Let me show this. Ableton, this is why I switch. I just don't get it why it takes so long to load, but... Ableton, this is why I switch. I just don't get it why it takes so long to load, but okay, I have a complex project. This one is quite really, again, some years old. It's not released. Loop this. So I just soloed some melody items. Long story short, you have a scene, you have something, and I just want to toggle something. Okay, so this is the situation, and I say, okay, let's just turn off the synthesizers. Okay. So I just push the 0 button. This is Ableton. This really is awesome. This really like rules. But in Bitwig, the 0 button doesn't work. I have to do right click, muted. Why? Why? Why is there no toggle button? I mean, okay, wait, before I get into rage mode, check out if there's a button. Shortcuts, see, toggle. Toggle. Okay, let's say Alt 0. This shortcut has already been assigned to the action remove from all collections. Okay, no, then I just try to, what about 0? Action toggle favorite. I don't care. It didn't do what I was expecting, so let's just reassign. So let's try this. 0. Huh? Okay, maybe this was the wrong setting. Setting, mute. It's not track mute, I want global mute. I just want to, okay, to be specific, I want to mute the region or the thing I selected, okay? Just turn it off, like what I'm focusing on. Can somebody tell me like how I'm doing this in Bitwig? Please let me know. Let me show you something, just another recent project I was doing. Play button. Why just do I hear the kick? I just don't get it. Okay, let's imagine we have a complex track. Like you've seen like 60, 70 tracks maybe. So I see the audio is coming from the group analog rhythm. I have to open it. And I see the solo is on the kick, which sucks because just like imagine if the setup could be even more complex and if I would have to open every group just to see, okay, there's a saved solo button. Essential information like something is soloed in a group and I just don't see it if I just see the group. This is interesting, like okay, here I have my quantized kick drum and stuff is going on. I just so far after a few weeks I just don't get it. Like this one, see, check this out. Quantize Q, Quantize Quantize audio and Quantize audio . If you check this out in Ableton, there's just a quantize option. You just push Q, like if you want to quantize MIDI, works the same like quantize audio, okay? I get it like with the ... like if you want to have further options and so on, okay, great. But usually what I'm expecting, this is my track and I say select and I want to quantize these events here and say, okay, here. Again, how did it do this? I just want to quantize the audio. And I expected the same to be like MIDI. This is how Ableton Live is doing now for, I think, quarter a century, okay? Simplify the quantization process in Ableton. Like, what happens now if I press quantize here? Nothing. I just don't get it. Long story short, I think the quantize mechanism in Ableton is just more intuitive. So this is my bass drum. So you see, I recorded my analog rhythm through the Overbridge plugin. You see our replicated all these tracks and it took me a long time. Usually in Ableton I press Command D and then yes, it's duplicating the track but also with the regions in there. But can we have please an option like just to duplicate the track but without the regions that are in there? Because this is like available in Logic Pro since years now, or for many years. I even have to use this way more often than duplicating really the track with the regions, etc. But it's really for me like the configuration of the track with the plugins and everything in there. I want to have the similar setup, the similar in routing and everything, but just get rid of the regions that are in there. And so far I couldn't find a shortcut for this one. Let me know if there's one. Let me show you like if I record things and what is happening in there. I do this freestyle. This is what I do in Ableton Live, okay? Like I played a drum and then a little bit more than like what the loop is, right? And then in Bitwig I always have to go in here and it just recorded so much more, like this extra bar or what that is, like Takt in German. And I always have to like go here and then, you know, Can somebody explain me like how I do turn this off, that it's always recording this extra bar? So let's imagine I recorded this as a MIDI track, right? Or a plugin, or maybe one of my external gear. So usually, and this is amazing in Bitwig, by the way. So I say bounce. Where's that? Here, bounce. And say bounce. So it bounces it to another track, obviously. But then here, the cool thing is like I can just say here, let's say pitch lower right. But my mouse. S7. Okay. But you know, like I had to do this like with the mouse, and it's quite fuzzling. Like you have these buttons for these things, but can I just say like push in there, and say 5 enter? It just doesn't work. I don't know. In Ableton, I just push the button and say like 5 enter, and so I just don't have to move with the mouse around to 5 ports, because for me this is like so intuitive. I can use Ableton Live with closed eyes. But there's just one last final comment from my side. Don't take it too serious. But if you check old Bitwig screenshots, they have this angled 45-degree corner here. And it just looked so futuristic. It just looked like the utopia. It looked like the future, okay? It looked like the door that separates from these others, because it just, you know, it's and not just this block here. If it take like Logic, check out my snowboard from the 2000s, and I strongly believe in like the shapes you have in there with the angle. It looks like the future. So can I please have this back in Bitwig, or at least a setting where I can say like I can go back to this thing? Because I don't know, maybe there was a user interface design decision to say like, okay, let's remove these rectangles, but at least you guys still have this in the documentation, in some screenshots, if you check some of the things like how to record clips and so on. But I really would appreciate that, because it just looks so much better. It separates the proper underground doors from the usual ones, right? This was just a subjective overview of things I would love to see to be changed in Bitwig, and let me know what you think, or let me know if you think differently. Let me also know if there are some things I can just to do to mitigate these things that I just showed to you. I want to see these things to be changed in Bitwig, and then it's the perfect door. Talk to you soon. Bye.